Hello, guys. We're back to do Unit 1, Lesson 3. So I'm just going to start y'all at the class home. I'm going to assume, since I've shown you twice now how to get here, you can do this. And again, always important to check is your grade, if you have any overdues, and then to check your Class Connect schedule. Always check these class announcements every day. I'll put important things there. Be sure that you scroll down to this calendar and go by this, not your planner. Do not go by your planner. Go by this as what to do for the week. And you'll see that for this week, we are doing 1.02. You'll finish 1.02 on Wednesday. And then Thursday, you'll start on 1.03 and should finish 1.03 by Friday. Be sure and take that quiz. That will be your first OLS grade. Okay, so that's where you need to look to see what you need to do. I also have the lesson 1 walkthrough right here, as well as it being located in the class newsletter. And you can scroll down here and it's going to update as I update the class newsletter for this week. So everything you might possibly need can be found in the newsletter. Always Mondays, and I would check every day, but definitely on Mondays, go in and check your grades. Make sure you don't find any Monday morning zeros. The only thing you would have gotten a 0 for this week is if you haven't completed your MAP test. All right, let's go on and get to the content. So we're going to go there to get to our OLS lesson. Today we are on lesson 3. So we're going to go down over here to the side and click on 1.03 Genius. As you'll see, there are 2 learns. And once I've recorded this and have it posted where you can see, and I meet with y'all after Tuesday's classes, you'll see a quiz pop up down here. But be sure that you go through the whole learning process as I'm showing you here, so that you will make a good grade on that 1.03 quiz. So you'll see learn, and then a quiz will pop up here. All right, so today our title of 1.03 is Genius, and you always want to do this introduction. And it looks like we have 7. If you add one more, it's 8 learns. So this one's a little bit longer than Tuesday and Wednesday's lesson, but it'll be okay. We'll get through it. It's not going to be bad. Genius. Have you ever come across a song that filled you with happiness or made you cry? Through his music, the composer of this story has brought great joy to many people over hundreds of years. Does anyone know who this is a picture of? Any ideas? This down here tells us there's 2 slides to this learn activity, so I'm going to go to slide 2. Review the lesson guide to learn about the activities in this lesson. Always download this learning guide. All right, it will go over the lesson objectives. It will show you what materials you'll need. You can go ahead and download those here, or you can wait till you see them in the learn process to download. Either way is fine. We only have 2 vocabulary words for this lesson, which is affect. It's a verb that means to change, and effect, something brought about by a cause. Those are often misused in the English language. So affect with an A is a verb that means to change. Effect is something that is brought about because of a cause. All right, so keep those 2 straight, affect and effect. And then we can go ahead and I'm going to move this down here so it's less likely to hinder us. Click on that to go to the next learning module. All right, listen. Today you will read about the composer of the Moonlight Sonata. Before reading the story, listen to a clip from the musical piece. All right, let's see if we can. I don't know if you'll be able to hear or not. Maybe you will. We'll try and see. All right, well, this gentleman is one of my favorite composers, and that was a very compressed audio file. Does not fully bring out the beauty of that sonata. So if you do happen to be able to find it on maybe YouTube, or even better yet, it's a very, very popular piece that you can probably easily find a CD somewhere. And I do have it on vinyl. Vinyl is still the best. If you get a good vinyl copy without scratches and dust with the pops, it's excellent on vinyl. Now think of 3 or 4 adjectives you would use to describe that composition. You may wish to jot them down in your notebook, or just remember those adjectives because we will return to them later. So how did that piece make you feel? Did it remind you of anything? How do you think it might have gotten the name Moonlight Sonata? Then click on that arrow next to it to go to Module 2. Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. Listening to the Moonlight Sonata might have made you feel curious about the man behind the music. You're not the only one. The author of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata wrote a short story to explore his curiosity about this famous musician. In the story, Beethoven visits a poor family and plays for them without revealing who he is. At the end of the story, he tells the brother and sister his true identity. And moved by their passion for music and inability to pay to attend concerts, improvises a new piece of music for them, his Moonlight Sonata. Does the author exaggerate the musician's kindness in this story? To exaggerate means we knew my dad exaggerated when telling his fishing story because the fish got bigger and bigger with every retelling. So to kind of blow up the facts a little bit. While this story is frequently retold, we do not know if it really happened, much like the story of George Washington and the cherry tree. Neither of these popular stories can be proven to be true, but each gives us an important insight to the central characters and general ideas about their lives. Read Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. Use the reading graphic organizer to apply reading strategies. So again, we're going to download this graphic organizer. And it's going to download down here. And we're going to click on this arrow when it's done and click open. And again, when it opens up in Word, in order to be able to type in it, you need to click enable editing. Remember, you don't have to print things off. Again, I would put my name. And if you want to put the date, you can. Okay. And so some of the things that we're going to be filling out is, what is the genre? Is this a short story, a myth, a poem? And remember, last time we talked about historical fiction, it might still be historical fiction. Make predictions about the text based on its genre. What do you already know about this text based on its structure? All right, so we're looking at just the way it's set up. Is it in chronological order? Is it by important events? How's it set up? What is the setting? Where does it take place? Who is telling the story? Is it first person, second person, third person, limited, omniscient? Is it a narrator or one of the main characters? What conflicts, man versus self, man versus nature? How are those conflicts resolved in the end? Were any passages difficult for you to understand? And tell why you felt confused about them. Use vocabulary definitions to make sense of the passages. Did you come across a word you didn't know that you needed to look up? Keep an online dictionary always pulled up and on the side. Summarize the plot of the story. Just briefly tell what happens. What's the gist of the story? What is the theme and or main idea of the text? Remember, theme is what we're supposed to learn, the message. Main idea is what it's the big picture, what it's about. How does the author create the theme character with character actions, symbolism, figurative language, dialogue? Give specific examples. Describe each character. What are they like? How do they speak? How do they interact with others? Are they a minor character, a major character? Are they not dynamic, etc.? And give examples of literary elements, figures, language like similes, metaphors, stereotype, personification, etc. that we've talked about in first semester. So you have to know what we learned first semester. And any words that you didn't know, give the context that it was and try to figure out what the meaning was. And then you can always look it up in the dictionary to check to see if you're right. So keep this open and fill it out as you read this story. And here's the link to our story. So we click on that. And it's always going to take you again to the very first page. You have to remember that we are in influential people. That's the unit we're in. And there is Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. And it starts on page 305 in your online textbook. Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. It happened at Bonn one moonlit winter's evening. I called upon Beethoven, for I wanted him to take a walk and afterwards sup with me. Oh, that's underlined. Let's see. What is that? Sup. To eat supper or to dine. And a sonata is a musical piece, usually in 3 or 4 sections for an instrument, such as the piano, or a combination of instruments such as piano and violin. In passing through some dark, narrow street, he paused suddenly. Hush, he said. What sound is that? It is from my sonata in F, he said eagerly. Hark, how well it is played. It was a little run-down dwelling, and we paused outside and listened. The player went on, but in the midst of the finale, there was a sudden break, then the voice of sobbing. I cannot play anymore. It is so beautiful. It is utterly beyond my power to do it justice. Oh, what would I not give to go to a concert at Cologne? Okay, finale is the closing section of a musical piece. Oh, my sister, said her companion, why create regrets when there is no remedy? We scarcely pay our rent. You're right, and yet I wish for once in my life to hear some really wonderful music, but it is of no use. Beethoven looked at me. Let us go in, he said. Go in, I exclaimed. What can we go in for? I will play for her, he said in an excited tone. Here is feeling genius. Here is feeling genius understanding. I will play to her, and she will understand it. And before I could even prevent it, his hand was upon the door. A pale young woman was sitting by the table making shoes, and near him, leaning sorrowfully upon an old-fashioned forte piano. And a forte piano is an early kind of piano. Sat a young girl with a profusion of light hair falling over her face. Profusion, a great quantity. So with a great quantity of light hair falling over her face. Both were cleanly but very poorly dressed, and both started and turned toward us as we entered. And in this case, started means moved in a quick, sudden way. So they were kind of surprised. Pardon me, said Beethoven, but I heard music and was tempted to enter. I am a musician. The girl blushed, and the young man looked grave and somewhat annoyed. I also heard something of what you said, continued my friend. You wish to hear, that is, you would like, that is, shall I play for you? There was something so odd in the whole affair, and something so comic and pleasant in the manner of the speaker, that the spell was broken in a moment, and all smiled involuntarily. So, not done on purpose. Thank you, said the shoemaker, but our piano is so wretched, and we have no music. No music, echoed my friend. How then does this Fräulein, which is German for miss? He paused, then blushed deeply, for the girl looked full at him, and he saw that she was blind. I entreat your pardon. And entreat means plead or request urgently. He stammered, but I had not perceived before, that you play by ear entirely. And where do you hear the music since you frequent no concerts? Frequent means attend. I used to hear a lady practicing near us when we lived in Braul 2 years. But during the summer evenings, her windows were generally open, and I walked to and fro outside to listen to her. She seemed shy, so Beethoven said no more, but seated himself quietly before the piano and began to play. He had no sooner struck the first chord, it's three or more musical tones that sound at the same time, than I knew what would follow, how grand he would be that night, and I was not mistaken. Never during all the years I knew him did I hear him play as he then played to that blind girl and her brother. He was inspired. From the instant when his fingers began to wander along the keys, the very tone of the instrument began to grow sweeter and more equal. The brother and sister were silent and wondered with rapture. Rapture means extreme happiness. The former laid aside his work. The latter, with her head bent slightly forward and her hands pressed tightly over her breast, crouched down near the end of the piano as if fearful lest the beating of her heart should break such an incident, the flow of those magical sweet sounds. It was as if we were all bound in a strange dream and only feared to wake. Suddenly the flame of the single candle wavered, shook, shook slightly, flickered and went out. Beethoven paused, and I threw open the shutters, admitting a flood of brilliant moonlight. The room was almost as light as before, and the illumination felt strongest upon the piano and the player. But the chain of his ideas seemed to have been broken by the accident. His head dropped to his breast, his hands rested upon his knees. He seemed absorbed in meditation. It was thus for some time. A deep meditation is a deep thought. At length the young shoemaker rose and approached him eagerly, yet reverently. Wonderful man, he said in a low tone. Who and what are you? Reverently means in a manner showing deep awe, respect, benevolently, kindly, and oh, hold on. The composer smiled benevolently, indulgently, kindly. Listen, he said. He played the opening bars of the sonata in F, in the key of F. So benevolently means kindly, and indulgently means showing special favor. A cry of delight and recognition burst from them both, and exclaimed, "Then you are Beethoven!" They covered his hands with tears and kisses. He rose to go, but we held him back with entreaties, in this case it means requests. Play us once more, only once more. He suffered himself to be back to the instrument, so he allowed himself to be led back to the instrument. The moon shone brightly in through the window and lit up the glorious rugged head and massive figure. I will improvise a sonata to the moonlight, then looking up thoughtfully too. Improvising means he just made it up on the moment. To the sky and the stars, his hands dropped on the keys, and he began playing a sad, infinitively lovely movement, which crept gently over the instrument like a calm flow of moonlight over the dark earth. And infinitely means immeasurably. This was followed by a wild elfin passage in triple time, a sort of grotesque interlude, like the dance of sprites up upon a sword. Then came swift agitata, oh man, okay, agitato, finale, a breathless, hurrying, trembling movement descriptive of flight and uncertainty and vague terror, which carried us away on its rustling wings and left us all in an emotion and wonder. So elfin is like an elf, magical in other words. Grotesque means like bizarre or strange. Interlude is a musical piece inserted between parts of a longer composition. And sprites are elf-like creatures, they're imaginary. And agitato is an Italian term used in music meaning agitated or restless. Kind of sounds like agitated. Okay. Farewell to you, said Beethoven, pushing back his chair and turning toward the door. Farewell to you. You will come again, asked they in one breath. He paused and looked compassionately, almost tenderly, at the face of the blind girl. Yes, yes, he said hurriedly. I will come again and give the Fraulein some lessons. Farewell. I will soon come again. They followed us in silence more eloquent than words, and stood at their door till we were out of sight and hearing. Eloquent means expressive. Let us make haste back, said Beethoven, that I may write out that sonata while I can yet remember it. So make haste just in a hurry. We did so, and he sat over it till long past dawn. And this was the origin of that moonlight sonata with which we are all so fondly acquainted. And see if it asks questions. I don't think it does. Yep, it goes down to the next story. So, yep, we go back here, and we're ready to go to this one. Module 3, checking your reading. After you finish reading Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, answer those questions to check your reading. And again, I would always do this in a Word document, much like I did this, like last time, and I titled it 1.02 notes. Open up another one, say File, New, blank document, File, Save As, this PC, and I would put in 1.03 notes so that you can find it and use it on the 1.03 quiz. On the 1.03 quiz, remember anything, any kind of downloads or notes that you took in 1.01, 1.02, and 1.03, you can all use those on that quiz and save. And then you can copy. So highlight that, right click and copy, or Control C to copy. Go back to your 1.03 notes. And I'm going to type 1.03 notes and Control V. And then when I get the answer, I like to put A colon. And so let's see, this first one. The young woman cannot go to the concert at Cologne. What conclusions can you draw about the woman and her brother? A, Cologne is too far away from their home. B, they have very little money and are unable to spare any to attend the concert. C, disabled people are not allowed to go to public events such as the concert. Or D, the brother refuses to take his blind sister to the concert because he resents her. I know this isn't the answer, but I'm going to click on this just so you see what happens when you get it wrong. Oh, it tells us no. The brother appears to treat her well. So let's hit this try again. And they have very little money, which we know is the correct answer. And once you know what the correct answer is, highlight it, right click and copy, or Control C, and then go back to your document and hit Control V, or right click paste and paste it in there. And then you're ready for the next question. Do this for all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 review questions, because this is probably where they're going to pull for questions in the 1.03 quiz. Okay. And remember, you can use your resources. So once you go through all of those, then you may click that button. Go to part 4. It says, listen again. You heard the clip of Moonlight Sonata before you read the story. Check it out one more time. So click this to hear it again. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to assume that you will do it. Tell me your thoughts. Connecting the music to the story. Consider the quotation. Then looking up thoughtfully to the sky and stars, his hands dropped on the keys, and he began playing a sad and infinitely lovely movement, which crept gently over the instrument like the calm flow of moonlight over the dark earth. Answer each question and then compare your answers to sample answers. How does this passage affect the reader's emotions? How does it change your emotions? Think of your answer, then check. Number 2, does this description match your impressions of the music? Why or why not? What's your answer? Then click the check button. Once you've come up with your answers and checked, then you're ready to click to the third slide. Fighting adversity. In his 20s, Beethoven began to go deaf. As you might imagine, the illness had great effect upon the composer. He eventually stopped giving public performances and stayed inside most of the time. However, he did not stop writing music. In fact, some of his most famous works were written after he was dead. The story you just read is about a blind woman who was a good pianist despite her blindness. Think about Beethoven and the young woman and answer the question. Why do you think Beethoven and the woman were both able to continue to write or play music despite their disabilities? What does that tell you about their characters? Think of your answer. Click the answer to see the sample answer. Was it closed? And then click up here to move to module 5. Beethoven and Raphael. Compare and contrast Beethoven and Raphael. Again, on these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions, you're going to want to copy and paste those into that Word document so you can have them for review when you take the quiz. Who continued to create art music with a disability? Beethoven, Raphael, or both? Now to think back on the story of Urbino. All right, once you go through all these, I'm not going to go through all of them with you because you can do that. But once you've gone through all of them, then you can click up here to go to module 6. Figurative language. Figurative language enhances the creativity of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. Metaphors compare two unlike items. Similes compare two unlike items using the words like or as. And personification gives human qualities to an object that are not alive. Examine the following passage from Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. This was followed by a wild elfin passage in triple time, a sort of grotesque interlude, like the dance of sprites upon the sword. Then came a swift agitato finale, a breathless, hurrying, trembling movement, descriptive of flight and uncertainty and vague terror, which carried us away on its rustling wings and left us all in emotion and wonder. Can you describe why each example of figurative language is a simile, metaphor, or personification? Give it a try. Then compare your answers with the sample responses. All right, so this one, like the dance of sprites upon a sword. Is that an example of simile, metaphor, or personification? All right, check your answer. Did you get it right? If not, you may want to go look up what the correct answer is. Why is it the correct answer? And see if you can tell. 2, a breathless, hurrying, trembling movement. Is that an example of a simile, a metaphor, or personification? Check your answer. Were you right? If you were, good job. If not, go and look up what the correct answer was and see if you can understand why that is the correct answer. Number 3, which carried us away on its rustling wings. Is that an example of personification, a simile, or a metaphor? Was your answer correct? If you got it right, awesome. If not, go look up some examples, other examples of that type of literary device and see if that helps you understand why this is what it is. All right, once you have finished those 3 and you understand why one is a simile, why the one is a metaphor, and why the other is personification, then you're ready to move on to module 7. Using your observation skills for Beethoven, it's time to put your observation skills to use again. Complete the observation page for Beethoven, just like you previously filled out for Raphael. So remember to fill out the form in detail using the things you learned about Beethoven from the reading. You will want to keep your observation page for the 1.03 exam. So again, you're going to click this. It's going to download. And then you're going to open. And we got to get rid of that yellow bar. So we're going to click enable editing so that we can type on there. We don't have to print everything out. Put your name. Put the date. You got to put it right next to those, right next to the colon. All right. And then it says take notes to record your observation. Who are we studying about? Well, we're learning about oops, I'm misspelling it. I always have difficulty spelling his name. Let me move this over here for just a second. Get his name spelled correctly. B, I've got to remember that. It's B-E. It's B-E-T-H-O-V-E-N. Okay. I want to spell his name right. There it is. Beethoven. Beethoven. What are some of his character traits? Well, he is a genius, a musical genius. So I'll give you that one. And then you can go on from there listing other ones. Motivation, what motivates him? Well, obviously music motivates him, but he's got some other motivations there. You can see through the story. Contributions to music. Well, we already know that he did Moonlight Sonata, and you can Google some of his other famous works. Your opinion. All right, so how do you feel about Beethoven? Do you like his music? If so, why? If not, why not? I guess Beethoven's not everyone's cup of tea, but I really like him. Him and Mozart. And Tchaikovsky. I love Tchaikovsky as well. All right, and once you have finished filling out that observation page, then you're ready to move on to 8, which is the lesson check here. So it says, just as music and art can create feelings and ideas, words can create images and emotions. Authors use figurative language to paint their ideas on the page. Similes, metaphors, and personification let the authors show us things about characters and plot that we would never realize without them. Answer the following questions to check your knowledge. 1. How does the use of figurative language in Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata communicate the author's purpose? Think of your response. Check with their answer. Was it similar? If so, great. If not, hey, go look back at the story. Remember, always keep the story pulled up. Let me go back one more page so you're not confused. Keep the story pulled up. Remember, it starts on page 305. Keep it pulled up, and you can look back at it at any time. 2, how is the characterization of Raphael in The Child of Urbino similar to the characterization of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata? So you might want to pull back up the first one. Remember, The Child of Urbino is found on page 100 of your text. So you can always click back in here and find The Child of Urbino by clicking there. And then I think you have to click over one page to get it there, but it's on page 100. Number 3, how is it different? So we're comparing and contrasting 2 stories, which we're going to be doing in our live CC sessions in a few weeks from now. Before you complete the quiz, be sure that you've completed all the activities in lesson 1.01, 1.02, and 1.03. Review the readings, so look back over them, scan. I'm not saying you have to reread everything in them, but scan back over them. Make sure you're taking good notes, as well as look over the vocabulary covered in each lesson. So again, go back to that student guide and look back over any of these vocabulary terms that you have from 1.01, 1.02, and 1.03. Once you've done that, you're going to be ready to take the 1.03 quiz. So good luck. Pull back up everything. Pull back up your review questions from 1.1. Pull up your review questions from 102. Pull up your review questions from 103. Have those up. I would have both stories up in 2 separate tabs, one with Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, one with The Child of Urbino pulled up. Again, scan back over those real quick and pull back up your notes from lesson 1.01, your notes from lesson 1.02, and your notes from lesson 1.03. Have those pulled up down here in the Word document so that you can click on them. I know I've got tons of stuff open. And have all that. Use those resources as you take that quiz. You don't have to take that quiz completely from memory. You can use all of these things to help you on that quiz. If you should make a grade below a 70, please review and try one more time. If you're still struggling and on that second attempt you make below a 70 again, please come to Open Office Help Lab. Email me, reach out saying, hey, I'm going to be coming to Open Office, or can you schedule a private time with me where we can get together and look at this? I need some help with this. Okay? Well, you are ready to take your 1.03 quiz. So you will go back to your content. And like I said, on Tuesday, after class, I will open this up for you if you're ready, but be sure that you don't take it without doing these steps or you will not do well. You only have 3 chances to make an 80 or better, okay? Good luck, and I hope that this walkthrough has helped you guys start off successfully in English class. And I think this is kind of how your other classes work as well. So let me know if you need any help or need anything before taking your quiz, or even after you take your quiz if you don't score so well. Y'all have a great day. Bye.